Are amendments? There being no amendments, the question for the House is advancing the bill to the order of third reading. Hearing no objection, the bill is on third reading. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of second reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 474.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 474, a bill to amend the Public Health Code. People of the State of Michigan enact.
The bill will be considered read for a second time by its title. Are there amendments? There are amendments. The clerk will read.
Representative Thompson offers two amendments identified as Amendment Number 1.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Thompson offers a series of two amendments identified as Amendment Number 2.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Regas offers a series of two amendments identified as Amendment Number 3.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Schmaltz offers one amendment identified as Amendment Number 4.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Vanderwall offers a series of two amendments identified as Amendment Number 5.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Johnson offers a series of two amendments identified as Amendment Number 6.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Steele offers a series of two amendments identified as Amendment Number 7.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Pohutsky offers a floor substitute H1 identified as Amendment Number 8.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is adopted. Are there further amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Coleman offers one amendment identified as Amendment 8A.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted. Are there further amendments? There being no further amendments, the question for the House is advancing the bill to the order of third reading. Hearing no objection, the bill is on third reading. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of second reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 476.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 476, a bill to amend the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. People of the State of Michigan enact.
The bill will be considered read for a second time by its title. Are there amendments? There are. The clerk will read.
Representative Pohutsky offers a floor substitute identified as Amendment Number 1.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is adopted. Are there further amendments? There being no further amendments, the question for the House is advancing the bill to the order of third reading. Hearing no objection, the bill is on third reading. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of second reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 477.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 477, a bill to amend the Pregnant and Parenting Student Services Act. People of the State of Michigan enact.
The bill will be considered read for a second time by its title. Are there amendments? There are amendments. The clerk will read.
Representative Pohutsky offers a floor substitute H1 identified as Amendment 1.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is adopted. Are there further amendments? There being no further amendments, the question for the House is advancing the bill to the order of third reading. Hearing no objection, the bill is on third reading. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to proceed to the order of third reading of bills and take up calendar item number 103, House Bill 4949, and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Calendar item number 103, House Bill 4949, introduced by Representative Pohutsky, a bill to list certain constitutional rights related to reproductive freedom. The people of the State of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There are no amendments. Speaker recognizes Representative Green.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak to the package.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. I stand before you today as someone deeply concerned about women's health, and I staunchly oppose any efforts to diminish the standards that ensure the safety and cleanliness of Michigan abortion clinics. These bills jeopardize women's health and undermine their right to make informed decisions about their bodies. Informed consent is a cornerstone of medical ethics and patient rights. It is a fundamental principle that every individual, regardless of the medical procedure they seek, should have access to full information about the potential risks and consequences. This includes abortion. Complications such as a perforated uterus, infection, or future infertility issues are not to be taken lightly. And women have the right to be aware of these risks before making such a personal choice. I speak from personal experience, having undergone a late-term miscarriage procedure. During that challenging time, I was thankful for the comprehensive information provided by my doctor. It guided me through the process and helped me make the best decision for my health. Every woman deserves the same privilege of being well informed. The removal of informed consent and other health and safety regulations, as these bills propose, leave women vulnerable and ill-prepared. This is not about advocating for or against abortion, but rather ensuring that every woman, regardless of her choice, has access to safe and sanitary facilities and receives the information she needs to make a well-thought-out decision. Proposal 3 was adopted by Michigan voters last year, and we must respect that decision. My position on these bills align with my deep commitment to safeguarding women's health and rights, and I am not alone in this belief. 90% of Michigan voters support the licensing and inspection of abortion facilities for health and safety purposes. 63% of Michigan voters support a 24-hour waiting period before undergoing an abortion, allowing women ample time to provide informed consent. These statistics clearly show that the vast majority of people in Michigan understand the importance of women's health and their right to make informed choices. We must remember that our commitment to women's health, safety, and informed consent should transcend any personal beliefs on the subject of abortion. Madam Chair, I hope we can stand together in opposition to these bills that threaten the well-being of Michigan across the state, and we remember Muskegon. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Shriver.
Thank you. When going over these bills, I really wanted to focus on what it would do in terms of expansion. And so naturally, I looked into the history and I discovered over 60 million American babies have died because of abortion since 1970s. 20% of the American population. 1.2 potential Michigan residents, 1.2 million potential Michigan residents have been deprived of the opportunity to live. That's 12% of our population. If this bill passes, Michigan will become a destination state for the mass genocide of preborn children. I've heard it said before, abortion is just healthcare. This is not true. This package deserves to be called legalized murder of vulnerable children up until birth.
Representative, don't impugn the motives of your colleagues. This is the only time. No. If Representative Desana would like to come up and speak, he's more than welcome to.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. There is no impugning happening. There was no impugning of the motive.
Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash.
Madam Speaker, I think it's important to recognize that anyone that suggests members of this chamber are committing murder is an egregious overstep in their comments. And I would ask that you remind our colleagues on the other side of the aisle that if they're going to be granted the opportunity to speak to the legislation, then they do just that
Representative Brayback, are you ready with your comments? Speaker recognizes Representative Brayback.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak to the entire package.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. These bills are about untangling the web of restrictions that limit Michiganders from exercising their constitutional rights. Today, we have an opportunity to deliver fully on our promises and to continue to ensure Michiganders are receiving the health care they need and the reproductive freedoms they deserve. Yes, we have said that this type of health care is legal, but what type of right is it if you can't access it? Simply, this right has no weight without a path of opportunity. With all of these limitations on the books come down to is generations of control over women's bodies. And this control has placed a burdensome toll on mental health. These bills break those chains one by one that limit women's reproductive rights. These bills release worry by granting Michiganders the opportunity to fully control their bodies, lives, and futures. These bills relieve obstacles by removing the medically unnecessary red tape that stands in the way of making a decision that is right for them. These bills give Michiganders more peace of mind that here at the Capitol, we have their backs and know their reproductive rights are their own choice. It is a time we take our state several steps forward. It's time to give back power to our people. I urge a yes vote on these bills. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Speaker recognizes Representative Desana.
To the entire package.
Without objection, so ordered.
I stand here before you today as a husband of 37 years, father of 8 children, and grandfather of 15 beautiful children. I have also served on the board of a crisis pregnancy center in Monroe, where I encountered many instances of women facing the dynamics of crisis pregnancies. In many of these instances, with the help of and the generosity of caring people, the crisis was averted through material and emotional support for the mother and care for the baby. I truly believe that eliminating the guardrails that help women through these difficult decisions does not help women, it hurts them. These guardrails can provide time, counsel, and care that can help an individual person make a monumental decision. Removing them simply seems unkind. There are cases where men force women to get abortions with threats of violence or blackmail. This package makes that easier. I believe that is a deep injustice. I can't speak for everyone, but I aspired to serve in this body to help my fellow men and women. But now I must work to help their children as well. If I voted for partial birth abortions and removed guardrails, I would be letting all 3 of them down at once. Early in our marriage, my wife and I lost a daughter at 13 weeks in utero. She was small, but perfect in every other way. We held her for 5 hours late into the night before we had to give her back. I don't think anyone here can fully say they understand this package until they have held their deceased child or watched helplessly as the love of your life delivers a child you'll never raise. These aren't political situations. They're messy and horrible and real. This package rejects the reality in favor of a fantasy where clinics can simply be left to oversee themselves. That's not fair to those women, their partners, or their children. They are in the hardest time of their life. The least we can do is have their back. I urge thoughtful consideration for a no vote on these bills. Thank you.
I wouldn't. Speaker recognizes Speaker recognizes Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak to the entire package.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. Today I rise in opposition to all of these House bills and the Senate bills regarding Reproductive Health Act. I ask a simple question. Why is the abortion industry the only industry we are trying to deregulate? Why are we trying to reduce safety and health parameters for women? Proposal 3 has passed with 57% of the vote. The 1931 law banning abortion procedures has been removed by the legislature. But why do we need yet another fast track to have more abortions? What is it about the abortion sector that is so unique? It needs fewer patient safety regulations. What is so unique about a newborn infant that our state's constitution prohibits extraordinary measures if it survives a post-viability abortion attempt? This removal of safeguards is deeply concerning. These are medical procedures, and they are not without complications and health risks for women. It is already legal and available to women in Michigan. Why would we then propose these bills that open the door for adverse effects and serious medical complications for women, not to mention the very real possibility of unsafe, unsanitary, unvetted, and with no oversight clinics for women who undergo these surgeries or chemical procedures? We need to make sure we do all we can to protect the health of women in this state. Please allow us to retain the current health and safety standards for the sake of women in Michigan. We have had historically the best in the whole country until potentially now. Make no mistake about it, this is a women's health issue. That is why I'm voting no on this very dangerous package, and I urge all of my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Fox.
Madam Speaker, may I speak to this whole package of bills that deal with the Reproductive Health Act?
Without objection, so ordered.
This Reproductive Health Act title is a euphemism because, in my opinion, it has little to do with reproduction and does not sincerely take into account the health of the total woman, spiritually, socially, physically, mentally, emotionally, or the health of the preborn child. Today I've wept over these bills. I've been in contact with prayer groups throughout the state, and I have at least 2,000 people and more praying at this moment. I weep as I think about my own children, 2 daughters, 2 sons. I weep as I think about my 13 grandchildren, 6 girls, 6 boys, and 1 who is preborn, 6 months in the womb. I weep as I think that many of these granddaughters and grandsons might have to grow up in a state that has become an abortion destination, a state where partial birth abortions will be allowed to take the lives of preborn babies, a state where uninformed, poor, and urban women may become the target for abortion mills. I weep as I think about the lack of safety standards in the new off-the-grid abortuaries, where injuries and possibly deaths will not be reported. These places where these health procedures will be carried out will take us back to dark days in our history. I weep because women will be uninformed and maybe coerced and used as things, while babies will be disposed of in dumpsters out back. I long for my grandchildren to grow up knowing that they are of great value in the eyes of God, fearfully and wonderfully made, and in the eyes of their parents. I long for my grandchildren to grow up in a state where adoption is the primary option for quote unquote unwanted children. Believe me, I have yet to meet an adoptive parent or an adopted child who wishes that birth mothers would have chosen abortion. With the passage of these bills, Madam Chair, my grandchildren will be living in a state where the health and safety of women and the lives of the preborn are not priorities. We call out, trust the science. Well, science tells us that life begins at conception. We can see their beautiful faces. We can count their fingers and their toes in the ultrasound. Trust the numbers. We bemoan the decrease of the population of Michigan while we allow 30,000 babies to be aborted in Michigan annually. Finally, as we lament the loss of innocent lives in the current wars of this world, I weep. I cry out for thousands of lives that will be lost in Michigan this year to abortion in all its evil forms. People, women, and men of the House, I cry out for a no vote on these bills. And I cry out, it is time for you to act, O Lord. Your law is being broken. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Speaker recognizes Representative Regas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Permission to speak to the package, please?
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you very much. Women deserve better than this. Those who support this package preach this is about choice and access to health care. I've read the entire package, and one thing is clear. This is not health care. Lowering safety standards is not health care. Reducing inspections is not health care. Enticing college-age kids into unsafe medical procedures, which could cause future infertility, is not health care. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I'm missing 4 of my children. In 2003, I had an unplanned pregnancy, and I was unwed. I was uninsured. I had no idea I was pregnant. I went to a clinic, a Catholic clinic, and that's when she told me that I was pregnant. I was pro-choice. I was liberal in my views until I knew that I had a life growing inside me. That was the defining moment in my life. My son is now 19 years old, and he not only changed my life, I bet he saved my life. Shortly after Peyton was born, my husband and I, we had gotten married. We decided that we wanted to have another child. And I lost that child. So within a year and a half, I went from pro-choice to being a mom to witnessing the death of a child. I received a D&C, the procedure, and a few months later, our son Harrison was conceived, and he is now 18 years old. In 2012, I had another miscarriage, the third one. I went to a top-rated hospital here in Michigan for the D&C procedure. During this procedure, the cervix is dilated. An instrument is used to scrape out the contents of the uterus. This procedure is used for both a miscarriage and an abortion. The difference is, for a miscarriage, the baby has already died. In an abortion, a D&C is used to scrape out and kill a living baby. The D&C procedure for miscarriage carries fewer risk because the blood flow is already stopped than when it's used on a living baby in an abortion. 3 days later, I became very, very ill. I had a high fever, I was very lethargic, and I knew something wasn't right. I went outside to get some fresh air. It was summertime. And I sat outside by the garden. My kids were pulling weeds and trying to catch up on the garden because I had been, unable to care for it. And I collapsed on our back deck. And I don't remember anything after that, except for I heard people talking. And I heard a doctor say to my husband, "Mr. Regas, do you know what her wishes are?" Because I almost died from an infection that I received at a top-graded hospital in the state of Michigan. The tests show I had contracted this life-threatening infection during that procedure. And I had to go undergo several surgeries. I had to have drains put in my abdomen because of the stress from the infection. I was retaining fluids, and they had to top out. They removed 2 liters of infectious fluid out of my abdominal cavity. I nearly died. 8 days I was unconscious. I had children at home to care for, and a husband, and a whole life to lead. I was 38 years old. This is what concerns me about this package. Yes, Proposal 3 passed. That's not the debate today. The debate is safety standards for women. We must take this seriously. This is a medical procedure with known risks. 8 days later, I was finally released from the hospital. Due to that infection, I was not only permanently scarred, I had to endure numerous surgeries, procedures, and was left with a very slim chance of ever conceiving another child, which we so desperately wanted. Only by the miracle of God, we conceived Lincoln and he was born in 2016. Immediately after Lincoln was born, I had to have a hysterectomy. I had endometriosis, and I hate to get personal, but I think these need things to be said. I had endometriosis, adhesions, my internal female, reproductive organs were attached to my bowels. I had to go through another surgery to correct and fix the damage that was done from that infection. So I beg you, please understand what is at stake here. This is not health. There are better ways to do this. Lowering standards, decreasing inspections is going to cost lives. It's going to destroy women's reproductive health, not protect it. And if this can happen at a top-rated hospital, what can we expect from a healthcare clinic that has no state oversight, inspections, or safety regulations? This is leading us back to standards which resemble that of back alley clinics of 50 years ago. Please, colleagues, I urge a no vote. There is a better way. If you really want to protect women's reproductive health, then let's vote no on this, and let's have a conversation about how we actually can protect women, because this package does not. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Price.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I speak to the whole package?
Without objection, so ordered.
Colleagues, I rise today to speak on behalf of the Reproductive Health Act. This legislation will remove barriers, eliminate penalties, increase access, and allow physicians to provide reproductive health services without undue interference of government. For the fundamental principle that each and every person is guaranteed the ability to choose what is best for them and their own body. We commit to the idea that each and every person is entitled to true autonomy and personal liberty, which must include access to affirming, supportive, reproductive care throughout their lives. I wish that my grandmother would have had access to comprehensive reproductive health care. My maternal grandmother, Jean Buckholtz, was born in 1921 in rural Ohio. In 1941, my grandma Jean was in need of an abortion. Her only option was a physically invasive, unhygienic, unsafe, self-administered procedure. The complications severely endangered my grandma Jean's life. She was fortunate to live. However, not everyone has been so lucky. With the passage of the RHA, surviving an abortion no longer needs to be a matter of luck. We as a state and a nation have this opportunity to move forward with reproductive care. We will not go back to the 1940s. We resolve now, and we will continue to fight to ensure that people all across our state retain their fundamental constitutional human right to safe, affordable, and accessible reproductive health care. Colleagues, I humbly ask you to join me in realizing the will of the overwhelming majority of our state in supporting the passage of the Reproductive Health Act. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak to the entire package.
Without objection, so ordered.
As many of you have heard me state before, I am a healthcare provider first and a legislator second. I say this because this package of bills is about restoring healthcare options with fewer restrictions for people who may be in need of abortion care services. Myself and many other legislators, healthcare providers, patients, and other stakeholders have collaborated to develop a package of bills known as the Reproductive Health Care Act. Just because abortion is legal does not mean it's accessible. These bills will repeal many of the problematic pieces of legislation from decades of restrictive laws interfering with access to necessary health care. Let's face it, these decisions about healthcare need to be left up to the individual and their healthcare provider, not politicians. This legislation has been carefully crafted and has taken months to ensure it will be effective. This package will also codify many reproductive rights into Michigan laws, reflect Michigan values and the will of the majority of Michigan voters, which has been referenced earlier. The work will not end with the enactment of the Reproductive Health Act, as it did not end with the passage of the Reproductive Freedom for All constitutional amendment. Access to reproductive health care and positive health outcomes still lag behind the economically disadvantaged and minority populations in our state. We have entire regions of the state where residents may have to travel hours, in some cases up to 9 hours, to get access to abortion services. Meeting these needs will require investment by the state, and I remain committed to meeting these challenges. I urge a yes vote on each bill in the RHA package. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The House will stand at ease.
House will come to order. Speaker recognizes Representative Pohotsky.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak to the whole package.
With no objections, so ordered.
Thank you. Today I rise in support of the Reproductive Health Act, a package of bills that will correct a long-standing wrong and remove politicians from rooms where only patients and medical professionals belong. This bill package seeks to repeal onerous, politically motivated, and medically unnecessary laws that were put into place over the last 10 to 15 years with the express purpose of limiting access to abortion. These are laws that apply to no other form of health care in the state, only to abortion care, and play on outdated and misogynistic tropes about abortion, the competency of the people who receive them, and the safety of the procedure. These laws require that facilities that provide abortions be licensed for procedures they do not even perform. But most of all, Madam Speaker, they limit the freedom of the people of Michigan, who as of last year have a constitutional right to abortion that the laws this legislation infringe on. The legislature has a co-equal duty to conform its acts to the Constitution, something I believe we are all acutely aware of. It can and should act rather than relying on the courts to clean up the mess that we have made. Because there's been rampant misinformation about what the passage of the RHA would mean, I would like to take a few minutes to touch on what will not happen when these bills become law. Firstly, and most importantly, facilities providing abortion services will not go unlicensed or uninspected. All healthcare facilities in this state, including those providing abortions, must undergo inspections and meet the standards in accordance with the healthcare that they are providing. Additionally, medical professionals must be licensed and perform within their scope of practice. This legislation also does not impact informed consent. Medical providers must and will still be required to ensure their patients understand any procedure they will undergo, including abortion. So now that that's out of the way, Madam Speaker, I would like to talk about what these bills will mean for Michiganders. And please keep in mind that every single thing I'm about to say actually happened to people in our state. Passing these bills will mean that for anyone living north of Saginaw who needs abortion care, they are much less likely to have to drive up to 7 hours to access a right that is guaranteed to them in the state constitution. Passing these bills will mean that patients won't have to receive medically inaccurate information that politicians, not medical providers, have decided should be forced upon them should they choose to have an abortion. Passing these bills will mean that people who desperately want to carry a pregnancy to term and want to bring their baby home but can't because of a fatal anomaly won't be required to read information about how they should not be undergoing an abortion they don't want to have in the first place. Passing these bills will mean that a mother carrying a wanted and hoped-for child with a condition that will cause every single bone in that baby's body to break during labor and delivery won't be told that because she didn't purchase an additional abortion rider for her insurance, an abortion isn't considered medically necessary, and therefore she will either have to find a way to pay for the abortion and all the associated medical care on her own, or carry the pregnancy knowing that her baby will know nothing of this world except unimaginable pain. These are real stories. And Madam Speaker, if you're thinking that while all of these are unfortunate but unintended consequences of these laws that are still on the books, I would counter that point with the simple fact that these are completely predictable consequences of politicians, many of whom have no medical background whatsoever, making decisions about healthcare and undermining the expertise of medical professionals. What's even more is that even if these outcomes were not predictable, we have years of evidence that demonstrates that not only have these laws not advanced patient safety, they have done active harm. These are the consequences of the state asserting its preference on abortion and forcing the people we represent to live through the fallout. And today, Madam Speaker, I hope that we will correct that. I urge a yes vote on these bills. Thank you.
The House will go at ease.
The House will come to order. The question for the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desk. The board will be closing shortly. The clerk will close the board. Representative Shriver votes nay. Clerk will tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4949, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
The majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Continuing the order of third reading of bills, move to take up House Bill 4951 and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection to order, the clerk will read.
House Bill 4951, introduced by Representative Hope, a bill to amend the Code of Criminal Procedure. People of the State of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desks. The board will be closing shortly. The clerk will close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4951, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
I move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of third reading of bills, move to take up calendar item number 105, House Bill 4953, and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objections to order, the clerk will read.
Calendar number 105, House Bill 4953, introduced by Representative Morse, a bill to amend the Revised Judicature Act of 1961. People of the State of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. The clerk will close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4953, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
I move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing on order of third reading of bills, I move to take up calendar item number 106, House Bill 4954, and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Calendar item number 106, House Bill 4954, introduced by Representative Braybeck, a bill to amend the State School Aid Act of 1979. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. The clerk will close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4954, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
I move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing on order of third reading of bills, I move to take up calendar item number 107, House Bill 4955, and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Did I skip? The clerk will read.
Calendar item 107, House Bill 4955, introduced by Representative Price, a bill to amend the Occupational Code. People of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. The clerk will close the board. Representative Ayash votes aye. Clerk will tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4955, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of third reading of bills, I move to take up calendar item number 108, House Bill 4956, and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Calendar number 108, House Bill 4956, introduced by Representative Rogers, a bill to amend an act to provide for setting aside the conviction in certain criminal cases. People of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question for the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desks. The clerk will close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4956, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of third reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 474.
Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
And place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 474, a bill to amend the Public Health Code. People of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desks. The clerk will close the board. Representative Rogers votes aye. Clerk will tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of Senate Bill 474, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of third reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 476 and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 476, a bill to amend the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. People of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question. The question for the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desk. The board will be closing shortly. Clerk will close the board. Representative Wozniak votes nay. Clerk will tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of Senate Bill 476, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Continuing the order of third reading of bills, I move to take up Senate Bill 477 and place it on its immediate passage.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 477, a bill to amend the Pregnant and Parenting Student Services Act. People of the state of Michigan enact.
Without objection, the bill will be considered read for a third time by its title. Are there amendments? There being no amendments, the question for the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. Members, please vote at your desks. The board will be closing. Clerk will close the board. Tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of Senate Bill 477, there are 56 aye votes and 54 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Wilson.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves to immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to the order of message from the Senate.
Without objection, so ordered. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash. The clerk will read.
To the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Sarah, who would transmit to the House Senate Bill 613, a bill to require certain public officers to file annual financial disclosure reports. People of the state of Michigan enact.
The bill will be considered read for a first time by its title.
Yes.
Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend rules 41 and 42 so that Senate Bill 613 may be referred to the order of second reading of bills.
Majority Floor Leader moves to suspend rules 41 and 42. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Rules 41 and 42 are suspended. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash.
Madam Speaker, I move to place Senate Bill 613 on the order